Now we'd like a person that's new to Krishna consciousness ask a question of Maharaj.
Maharaj, I'm wondering about your early years. You mentioned that...
in Krishna consciousness or before?
Actually, just before you mentioned that you were going over to... Well, before you told your father that you were going over to India instead.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, you said you were expected to take over the family business, and that your father was, I suppose, a very stressed and depressed person at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, obviously you must have had some kind of a spiritual insight then. You must have, I guess, vaguely felt how things work, if you want to put it that way. I'm wondering, how did you, I suppose, stay in your own head in that time and I suppose eventually escape that expectation?
Sure.
And I suppose, knowing what you know now, would you have done anything differently?
Yeah. I guess I was sort of having a nice sheltered childhood till I was about 12, and then my father had a crisis, and he was overworked. He was totally overworked and totally stressed out, and at one point he was in a bad state. What happened was the doctor then prescribed a sleeping cure, and that was fashionable in those days, and he was going to give him enough drugs to knock him out for 17 days. Don't ask me why 17 days, but that was the principle. Let him sleep for 17 days. That was the therapy they had thought of. Now, what happened was that they gave my father enough drugs for 17 days, and he slept only 2 hours. So then they found out that for a long time he had been taking all kinds of pills, namely amphetamines and sleeping pills and so on. So it wasn't getting so nice, right? He had been working on these things. So that was part of the stress, yeah. And then the doctor came back and he just gave him more drugs. But he still didn't really sleep. And he was lying in bed, half intoxicated, sometimes sleeping, sometimes awake. And then he said to me, "I am finished." And I looked at him and I thought, "You are right." I thought, he just had a clear moment, And then I thought, he's finished. So from that time on, I sort of consciously distantiated myself from my father. That was like a very shocking moment, and I just decided, okay, I'm going to take charge of my life. I'm going to start, I really made a break, an internal break with my father, which only physically was made then formally 4 years later. But in those years, I kind of started to think deeply about what is the goal of life and what am I going to do. And by the time I was 15, I was convinced that the goal of life was to be self-realized. I was then searching out by reading many, many books from many different backgrounds and traditions about spiritual, so-called spiritual life. So I was seeking. I was a seeker. And I was into music all along. That stayed with me, and it's even with me now. So I expressed that spiritual seeking also in my music. I started writing songs when I was 15. Started writing lots of songs. And all these songs were about seeking for spiritual life. I'm nothing but a stranger, always around. I'm nothing but a seeker for what I've never found. See, that's or another sort. Old hungry eyes have told me many lies, but maybe this one time I will be satisfied. Huh? So like that, I was already on a spiritual path, and yeah, by the time I became 17, I was old enough to really start to give it more shape.
Thanks, Maharaj. Now, finally, one of your male devotees would like to ask a question.
Given the stage you've reached in life, I just want you to share with us how you spend your everyday life.
In my service, you have to be very flexible. And I have my own standards for when I'm alone. I have different standards when I'm engaged in public preaching. When you leave me alone for a longer period of time, then I get up at 1:30 in the morning, and then I chant in the night, and later I study and write, and then I go to bed early at night. Yeah. Now I'm gonna very soon do that. After Australia, I'm going to India, to the Holy Dham, and I'm gonna do exactly that, and I'm looking forward to it. At the moment, life is hectic. We are on a world tour. I do so many lectures and programs, many late nights, early mornings. As a sannyasi, you're supposed to be inspiring in the early morning and also inspiring in late night. What does that do for your rest? I don't know. But it looks a little awkward. So when I do these world tours, I'm on a different program now. Now the program is aimed at getting enough rest, getting enough sadhana, getting enough reading, and getting then plenty of opportunity to preach and glorify Krishna and relate to many people. So I have to balance myself between giving myself to people and at times taking energy, spiritual and also material. This kind of thing I'm doing right now, a weekend where I give 10 lectures. I mean, I've just given 10, this is number 10, right? In 2 days. That's a lot of lectures, and quite a lot. Right? So naturally it's a little stressful. There was someone who, our Mewar insisted on doing some acupoint massage, and he said, there was too much stress in the foot. Very painful kind of massage, they say. So this is a stress period, in a sense, materially speaking. I cannot do this too long, but for a while longer then. So when we preach, there is a taste, undoubtedly, but at the same time, it is the period of sacrifice. And then there's the other time, which is some time for myself, where recharging. So in this way, I try to keep a balance in my life between these two. So sannyas life is not so much a life for ourselves. It's a life for others. I don't live my own life. I think if I lived my own life, it would be really different than what I live now. It would be maybe more introspective, maybe more relating to my previous time. You can imagine, as I was writing songs, I took time for writing and thinking. You don't just write a song like that. So I'd like in the coming years, I imagine myself traveling less, doing less public programs, but more writing. Since I'm getting older, and it makes sense, so the next phase of my life will probably go in that direction. I'll still come to Australia, but I'll be a little more conservative with my time, and I won't give you as much time as you're getting now. But I'll try and make it quality time. And well, we'll take it from there, and I hope to relate to people through books, which I think could be on a deeper level. So I've traveled like this now for almost 15 years, and which is a long time in a way, and I guess in the next few years I'll start shifting towards more writing and going more regularly on retreats for myself to sustain my health and at old age go a little slower pace and things like that.
So we're going to end the program now and let Maharaj recharge. Thank you very much.
So early.
Thank you very much, Kadamba Kanana Maharaja. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaja Ki! Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Bhakta. Yeah.